So the runner-up in Nigeria's presidential election, Atiku Abubakar, has been viscerally disputing the election results. Mr. Abubakar led a march here in Abuja to protest against the conduct of the poll, which according to official figures was won by the candidate of the ruling party, Bola Tinubu. Mr. Abubakar and his party, the main opposition PDP, say they'll go to court over alleged fraud. And they've gained some leverage after international observers said failures in the electronic transfer of results caused a lack of transparency. But a spokesperson for Bola Tinubu has accused Mr. Abubakar of staging a theatre of the absurd after he led thousands of supporters in protest against the results and demanded a rerun. Mr. Tinubu's media and publicity director, Onargas, said what was on display from Atiku Abubakar and his motley crowd was a new low from the man he called a perennial election loser. Mr. Onargas said he failed to see how a march to the Electoral Commission by a scanty crowd will provide any window for victory for Atiku Abubakar and his fragmented People's Democratic Party. Well, for his reaction to this, I'm joined now in the studio by the former road safety chief, former minister of aviation, former governorship aspirant in Anambra State, and now director of voter intelligence and strategy in the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, Chief Osita Chidoka. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chidoka, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Charles.
And you heard our intro there, where we were reporting that Tinubu's man, Onargas, described Atiku Abubakar as a perennial election loser, suggesting that there was nothing that his fragmented party could have done to win the election, and certainly no way that leading a march to INEC with what he called a scanty crowd would make any difference to the election results. What's your reaction to all that?
So it's an unfortunate statement. A statement that stands logic on its head. We saw President Buhari march on the streets of Abuja in the period when he was campaigning for office. We saw the APC crowd march in various parts of the country saying they won the 2003 election. We saw them say they won the 2007 election. We saw them say they won the 2011
well, fragments
election.
of the APC, because the APC didn't exist there.
From AMPP to CPC, and then to the when the APC came in 2015. I said we saw General Buhari, not the APC. So it is nothing new in our democracy that we have seen Nigerians run to the barricades to protest what I call a tragic and unfortunate election of immense proportion. I mean, nothing in Nigeria has damaged our democracy like what happened on Saturday, the 25th. First, INEC raised our national hopes. Before they raised that national hope, it started from 2022 when they conducted the Anambra election, the Ekiti elections, the Osun elections. And I'll use the Osun election as an example. The Osun election was conducted on the 16th of July. By midnight of 17th of July, 3,758 of the 3,763 polling units were uploaded on the INEC server. They went ahead and conducted the FCT election. After the FCT election, at 3:45, according to Yaga, the first upload occurred from a polling unit. If you go back to the polling units to the INEC website and look at the Anambra results, the Ekiti results, they are all still on their website. You could see that they were transmitted from the polling units to the IREV. Beyond being transmitted from the polling unit to the IREV, they are legible. You could view them, you could see them, you could download them, you could work on them. You can go back today and recollect Anambra result using the IREV or Osun result. But I'll tell you something about the INEC results that we have today. Of the INEC results that we have today, if you go to download the INEC result, 804 of the polling units will tell you access denied. You can access 804 results. And I can share you the polling units where these 804 results are.
Please.
And if you go to the same IREV, 8,217 of the results are blurry and illegible. You can't read them.
That is true.
We've downloaded them. I can share with you a spreadsheet of all the polling units where it is blurry and you can't read them. Now, the cancelled results are like 527 we've seen so far, because as at this moment, this is 8 p.m., on the INEC website is 164,279 results that has been uploaded. A week after the election, a national scandal and shame. And then of these, 480 of them, 490 of them are of wrong PUs. They are not the results of the PUs that they were supposed to be.
That's the polling unit.
Yeah, the polling units.
Right.
They are not the results. Different things were uploaded. Not the result, not the Form EC8A of that polling unit. So you click on it, and I can share with you the 490 polling units where the results are not the EC8A of that polling unit. 490. Now, if you look at improper upload, they are not even from EC8A. So they are not even from one unit to the other. They are not even EC8A forms. There are 209 of them. Now, so we have about 10,000 PUs of the 164 that has been uploaded so far, and the ones we have catalogued that are not usable. And
you expect there'll be a lot more, do you?
So we have only 10,000 more to go, about 12,000 more to go if they upload the remaining to get to 176. So if we get there, we will see. So we're not even discussing who won the election or who lost. We're discussing an egregious breach of the Nigerian electoral process.
Well, that's an important point, because I wanted to ask you, clearly you don't believe that INEC released the right results. And is your position that if they did, your candidate would have won?
Okay. So the question that we're asking, first and foremost, before I get to about winning the election, the question we're asking first and foremost is that the integrity of the whole election, the idea that you could disenfranchise people by starting the election at 1 p.m. to make sure that people get frustrated from 8 a.m. till 12, the idea that violence could be unleashed at polling units to stop people from voting is the number one issue with the election. Then we got into the election proper. We have the issue that when it is made that the upload from the polling unit was not done from the polling unit, INEC told us a story. They said that all of the Form EC8A are coded with a QR code, and that the IREV, the Beavers, will recognize this QR code. If that QR code is not recognized by the Beavers, then that result will not be uploaded. And that this upload will go straight to the IREV for people to view, so that by the time you get to the collation point, and there is an argument about the number of accredited voters or the number or any issue, there are two options for the collation officer: to check the Beavers machines themselves or to check the IREV. Now, I can say to you that what happened on that Saturday suggests that somebody somewhere held on to these results from the PU, and that there was a clear effort to make sure that the polling unit officers did not have the right password, did not have the right usernames to be able to do that upload.
Yeah, but can you prove that in court?
Yes, we're going to prove that in court. We're going to show at the time these uploads happened. So if you do that, then you will then come into the issue of what was in the result sheets that were written at the polling units. We'll come to that. And why I'm careful about this is that these are the things we're coming to court with. So
yes,
we're not going to
say... You have to be circumspect.
Yes, we have to be circumspect about it. We're already in court. So I have to be careful what we're bringing to court. But I'm dealing with the issues that tell Nigerians that what we have here, what is going on here in Nigeria is scandalous. And I warned INEC at various fora for this. In Abuja elections was conducted on 16th of February. Yaga wrote a report and said there were issues with 1, late deployment and commencement of election. They said there were technical glitches with the Beavers, and then they said there was missing names on the voter register, and then of course there was the functionality of the INEC result viewing portal. I wrote about it. I forwarded it to the INEC chairman. I said, for the nation to have trust in INEC, we need a third-party verification of the technology of INEC. We need to know who are the suppliers of this equipment. What will this equipment do when 176,000 people are trying to use it at the same time? So we need to know, did you conduct a stress test on this? If there was a stress test, can you share the result with all of us to know whether on a day when 176,000 Beavers are on and trying to link to the same system, that there will be no issues?
And what was their response?
The INEC people said they will consider it. I went to Washington, D.C., and this was on 13th of March at Johns Hopkins University. There was a program by Nestia Consulting and the Johns Hopkins School of International Studies. And I made the point again. I said, the electronic voting system in Belgium was certified by PwC. That's what gave people confidence to use the electronic process. So this electronic accreditation system that we have needs a third-party validation. And the USAID, the INEC partners and funders all agreed with me that this was a basic requirement. Now, Nigerians do not know. This product was manufactured by a Chinese company, Emperor Technologies. Emperor Technologies, MTech, now came and registered a company in Nigeria called MTech Technologies Nigeria. The Beavers is a common machine. It is used in schools, hospitals. They're a big company in China. You can go to their website, you can go to Alibaba and buy the Beavers. It's not a secret formula. It's just a bimodal verification system. It's not an electoral system. So that company needs to explain to Nigerians what you promise Nigerians, that when you snap a result, it will recognize the QR code. It will upload straight to the server, and that Nigerians will be able to view that result. Why was it not happening on election day? Why did it take 7 days to bring 167? Well, now we're now about 9 days.
Presumably, your lawyers can compel those people to come to court, can't
we?
We
hope so. Yeah. That Emperor Technologies and their Nigerian affiliate,
yes,
MTech Technologies Limited, and that we will want to see, did INEC conduct any stress test? Was there any third-party verification that this system will do what was promised?
Yeah.
And I can tell you, the system failed woefully. That it allowed people to upload pictures, it allowed people to upload things not related to Form EC8A in 490 cases.
That's a very important point. But you're not the only one disputing these results. I mean, the other big opposition party, Labour, seems to think that they won the election. That suggests a bit of a muddle, doesn't it? How is that likely to be resolved with the PDP, Labour and the APC all saying they prevailed in this election? Is it by cancelling the election completely?
If we go to the election on 11th of March, if the election proceeds, I can tell you that it will be a catastrophic election. Because now the contestants have now realized that collation officers can announce what they like. That results can be rewritten and announced. And once announced, the INEC chairman will sit down and be collating them and be telling you, you can go to court if you don't like it. So it is the election that was conducted on 25th did not meet the basic standards of transparency, did not meet the basic standards of fairness, did not meet the basic standards of elections done in furtherance of Nigerians' dreams of free and fair elections.
Right. Now, some people have suggested launching an independent investigation into alleged interference, manipulation, and so on in this presidential election. I mean, President Buhari could appoint, they say, an independent rapporteur, for example, to lead a team of Nigerian and non-Nigerians who would make expert recommendations on combating corruption in Nigerian elections. What do you think of that suggestion?
Good idea. Good idea, because the INEC's disappointment is deep. I don't know. I want to tell you something. Elections before 2007, and I want to accuse INEC publicly. Elections before 2015 was an INEC game. So you will give money to INEC, you will give money to police, and they will make sure at collation centers they write results as it will favor you.
And of course, that was a PDP government.
Yes, it was on that.
Which is your party.
Yes, it was a PDP government.
Right.
I raised my hands. It was PDP government. Our electoral system was not what you could say today, what we have done since the same PDP decided to reform the process. President Umaru Yar'Adua was elected under the PDP, and he came on the day of his swearing in and said, the election that brought me to power, it was flawed, and I will look into it.
Yeah.
And he set up the Justice Uwais Commission. And Justice Uwais Commission came up with a series of recommendations, including the unbundling of INEC and making sure that all the facets that was components of INEC had independent people looking at it. They also recommended the use of the card reader. So when Jonathan became president, he appointed a member of that committee, Atahiri Jega, as the chairman of INEC. So it was the PDP who were beneficiaries of a flawed process that said, even though we benefited from it, we will change this system. And we changed it. And what price did we pay for that? We lost the election of 2015.
And what do you think of the suggestion by some Nigerians that the INEC chairman's position should be an elective position, not an appointed one? They argue that electing the chairman would strengthen the independence of INEC. Is that something that you would support?
Well, that is to say that elected governors will not be corrupt, or that an elected president will not behave in an egregious manner. So I don't know if that will change the moral fiber of the individual. And I don't know if the process he goes through the election, the deals he will make to go through that election will truly make him independent. But I am of the opinion that the board of INEC should include the political parties as observers. That when the INEC commission sits, the political parties should sit with them as observers, at least with a condition. Any party that has a member of the House of Reps will have a seat. You are not voting members of the INEC commission, but you will sit down and listen to INEC make decisions about what the political parties should do.
Right.
So that there will be some sunlight on the activities of INEC. And the example I normally give is the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank. If you look at the Monetary Policy Committee, one of the key things they do is that they publish the report of their meeting, saying this person supported rate increase, this person did not support rate increase. So we know what the individuals in INEC decided. Now we don't know who the recs are. We don't know where they stand on any matter. We don't know who voted for the logistics, who made the logistics of INEC to fail in this election. INEC used to be the beneficiary of elections, but with the introduction of the Beavers, the card reader, you notice something significant happened in Nigeria. And that significant thing that happened was that politicians started buying votes, meaning that the voter now mattered. People now went to the voters, not to INEC. INEC officials in INEC are still living in denial. They want to take us back to that era when we go to INEC officers and give them money for election. This is what this election has done. They are taking us back to the era. That's what the INEC rank and file is doing. They want to take us back to the era where the collation officer can announce what he likes, where the INEC chairman can sit in Abuja and refuse to listen to the fact that your process has not been followed.
That's a very interesting analysis, which obviously we can't verify or authenticate at the moment. But what do you make of the news that INEC has applied to a court to reconfigure the Beavers system, saying that it needs to reset the devices before their deployment for governorship and state house of assembly elections on Saturday?
Yes, they have to reset the Beavers, sadly. But now the Beavers is subject of controversy, but they have to reset the Beavers. And my attitude is simple. Again, we can find this is what happens when trust is broken. If no trust was broken last Saturday, people will have congratulated the winner and everybody will have moved on.
Yeah, but I'm curious to know your reaction.
So that's I'm coming to that reaction.
Right, because essentially they're asking for an order varying the permission that the court has already granted to the PDP and the Labour Party to inspect materials used by INEC in the conduct of the presidential election.
So my attitude to that, as somebody who understands technology, is that the Beavers is a machine. All the data inside the machine can be uploaded to the server. So everything that was done with the Beavers, all the information in it can be uploaded to the server.
And then you clear
INEC
it, basically.
can then say to us, all the political parties, come present, sit here with us, send their technical people, all the Beavers has been uploaded. Our server contains all the information. So the footprints, the markings of the beavers are there. Then you can clear the beavers. Because it's an accreditation tool, if you go without resetting it back to 0, then the accreditation starts from where you stopped on the last Saturday's election. That's my understanding of it. So I believe that, yes, it needs to be reset, but it needs to be that the broken trust have to be renewed by INEC confirming to everybody that all the information, just like the way you back up your WhatsApp messages, if you do regular backup, whenever you reinstall the WhatsApp, it will bring back all the messages as at the last time you backed up. So if we back up all the information on the beavers, then we will be able to have it ready for the election. But now with the court order refusing them that, and without this having been done as of today, I don't know how INEC will do that and gain back the trust of the parties to say, yes, we have seen that all the information has been backed up or printed out, so you can go ahead and reset that.
Right, and tell us more about what you've got in your arsenal to try and get this result reversed by way of evidence. I mean, I know you have to be circumspect, but yes, give us the broad strokes of it.
No, the broad strokes is what I have just explained to you, the egregious behavior of INEC in this election, the total lack of transparency, which was the key point at which once elections are conducted in that manner, people will wake up and congratulate their opponents. So I am of the view that INEC has destroyed a key component of Nigerians' hope. And that hope was expressed with the turnout in this election, with people struggling to vote, with all the challenges that was put on their way, and people still persisted to vote. It's important that that trust should not be taken for granted. I do not think that INEC, as constituted and as behaved in the last election, is fit to conduct future elections for Nigeria.
Well, you know, people want to be inspired by you, because at the moment a lot of people feel very down and very depressed and feel like, you know, not all people obviously, because I mean, particularly people who vote, it's just more people who voted for you. They feel, you know, downcast, and they think, well, you know, after all this, I mean, we haven't, you know, our votes did not appear to have counted, and they need to hear some sense of confidence from you that you're going to win this case in court.
Oh dear, it's very clear. When you see us marching to INEC, we're very confident. You see, our confidence stems from the fact.
Yeah, but marching to INEC is just marching to INEC.
Yes, so no, for us to
that's not a court of law.
No, we're going to the court of law. And like I said to you, I will not, on the pages of newspaper on the front of a television camera, say this is the case we have against INEC and the APC. And I'm not the lawyer going to court. So, but what is important is that our lawyers are confident that we have a strong case. Our lawyers are confident that, and Nigerians generally are downcast. An election that everybody looked forward to, believing the INEC hype about the process. Look, INEC results in Anambra, Ekiti, Osun are on the sites. Please go and download them. You will view all of the results. You will see the timestamp when they were uploaded. Why did this fail on February 25th?
But I'm wondering whether, given that the Labour Party, which is the other now opposition sort of party, is also trying to get these results overturned. I mean, is there some synergy between the PDP and the Labour Party?
No, there is a synergy. There is a synergy over the lack of non-transparency. There is a synergy over the efforts to damage the structural underpinning of the country. There is a synergy to reject the introduction of reversing us back to the old. So that synergy is such that if any of us win, and they confirm, they collect all the results, we will be happy. I'm sure they will be happy to congratulate us if we win. And I'm sure we will be happy to do the same. But what is fundamental is that you can't conduct this type of election and just say to us, go to court. After all the money spent, after all the trust. I was one of those who defended INEC at almost all the fora, saying, I believe them. This process they put in place, you know, what I saw in Ekiti, what I saw in Osun, there was gradual improvement, there were issues, which is why I kept calling for third-party verification. I said, we need a third-party verification. We need to give the country confidence that this system will work under stress. And now the system failed spectacularly under stress, which I think is one of the very interesting facts is, how could INEC have fixed an election almost 6 months ago? And then on the day of election, we saw presiding officers who didn't know how to operate the Beavers. We saw presiding officers who said they didn't have password and usernames. How could that happen?
Yeah, it does beggar belief, to be fair.
That beggars belief. Yes.
But are we likely to see more street protests from the PDP as a way of sort of underscoring the seriousness of this issue?
We're a very law-abiding party and a very peaceful party. We will continue to use peaceful forms of protest. And when we go to court, we'll continue to use the legal instrument to fight this, this breach of trust, this damage of the Nigerian psyche. Because democracy is something that grows from the consent of the people. So the absence of the people's consent, the peace, the quietness in the country after the result was announced, tells the story. The loud silence, the whole international community that were here for the election, all left in a hurry because they feared that there will be outbreak of violence in Nigeria. They were all disappointed. All their preliminary reports point to a story of disappointment. The Financial Times of London wrote an editorial saying,
yeah, I saw that.
Yes, this is less than expected from Nigeria. They talked about seeing armed people cutting away ballot papers and boxes from the FT.
But are you prepared to live with the fact that Bola Tinubu could be sworn in on May the 29th, that this could drag on for an exceedingly long time, much beyond the swearing in period?
There are timelines for the court cases,
right.
And I believe that swearing in doesn't change anything. We're a country of law-abiding citizens. If Ahmed Bola Tinubu is sworn in on 29th of May, the cases are not over. Of course, he will be sworn in. The process will continue. The court cases will continue. If it is found at any point that he didn't win the election or that the election needs to be redone, then the Senate President of Nigeria will act while we go through another round of elections. So our constitution is clear. Our processes are clear in the country. We are we're a party that has been in power. We understand the process, how it works. So we're not disturbed by things like swearing in or no swearing in. It doesn't disturb us. We won't disrupt the everyday business of government in making our case, because we trust that the judiciary will look at our case. We believe the judiciary will rise above the fray to be able to stop what I call a regress back to the old days. It descends to the days that INEC, the courts themselves, has in various judgments accused the government and INEC of behaving in less than noble ways, which led the PDP to reform the electoral process. And 2019, people said, was less than 2015, the conduct of 2019 election. All international observers said this was less than the transparency we saw in 2015. And now 2023 has fallen below the 2019 threshold. And yet again, we're still back to the same story. And
right.
I think we should rise above this as a country.
And just as an aside, I mean, the reports going around that your brother lost his bid for the House of Representatives. Is that an accurate story?
Yes, that's correct.
He lost to the Labour Party.
The Labour Party, yes.
Right. And,
expectedly.
Right.
Yes.
Why do you say expectedly?
The Labour Party has momentum in the Southeast. Has strong momentum, has strong support, ordinarily. I'm one of those who are of the view that a multi-party democracy multi-party elections in Nigeria would not quite augur well for Nigeria. It will break us to our fault lines. A two-party system will most likely force us to vote across our ethnic sentiments. So I share that view, I stand on that view, and I believe that along the line, what happened in 1964, when all the political parties came up and formed the OPGA, the Grand Alliance. What happened in 1983, when the parties came together to form the PPA, the People's Progressive Alliance, which couldn't materialize, and they saw the MPN running riot over them, will again occur in this democracy to take us back to that two-party structure that allows us to vote across our ethnic and religious divide. If we continue doing it, then we'll continue to see candidates with less than 1/4 of the vote, sometimes just 30% of the vote emerging as president. And this will continue not to augur well for the country. It regress back to our ethnic enclaves.
And on that prophetic note, I want to say thank you very much indeed, Chief Osita Chidoka. You've been a very gracious guest. And Osita Chidoka is a former road safety chief, former Minister of Aviation, former governorship aspirant in Anambra State, and now Director of Voter Intelligence and Strategy in the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Charles.